What's up? You're on YotaHoon again, and today we're going to be working on a 1995 Honda Prelude. Today's video, I wasn't going to make a video for this, but I saw a lot of what I think is misinformation online in regards of these one-piece headlights, what people are calling the JDM headlights, the black housed one piece. The corner light and the main headlight is one piece. That's why they're called one piece. So the wiring from the stock headlight to this JDM one is different. And what's different is your factory low beam is a 9006 bulb. And the light in the, wherever that went. And the light in the JDM one is an H4. And your factory high beam is a 9005, and the JDM ones use the H4 for both high and low beam. And you have an H1 over here that what I have read is called a city light. And what I've seen a lot of people doing online is they're wiring the H4, which is a 3-prong bulb, to only low beam when it's meant to be high and low beam, which is why it's a 3-prong bulb. It's a dual filament bulb. You don't need 2 bulbs for high and low beam. And what people are doing is they're wiring the H4 to low beam only, and then they're using the H1 as high beam. And from what I'm understanding is that's not the way it was intended to be used, because they would not put an H4 bulb in here if they did not want you to use the H4 for both high beam and low beam. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over what wiring you need to do to switch the H4 bulb and have it wired up so that you can use the single H4 for both high and low beam. And the H1 is not going to be used for now. In a future date, we're either going to wire that up to a separate switch or maybe the corner light so you can use it as a running light. And we're going to put an orange, or we're going to put an amber bulb in this second slot over here, which I think the amber will look good. I'm sure you've seen like the amber fog lights and stuff. So we're going to go that route. This car belongs to a guy I'm working with. His name is Garrett. I'm going to put a link to his channel in the subscription if you want to see more of this car in the future. It's a H22A motor. You can see it's got some stuff done to it. I'm working with him, getting it running and everything, getting it back on the road. So over here, I have a few things that you're going to need to do this. The first thing is an H4 socket, and you can buy these on Amazon. You just search H4 socket. They're like, it was like $7 for 2 of them. I do not have the socket for the H1 today because today we are only working on the H4, and you can see it's a 3-prong plug like that. Comes with 2 of them. So right here we have 2 single pole double throw 5-pin relays, and you'll need 2 of them, one for each side, one for the driver's side, one for the passenger side. You can see it comes with the instructions that shows you what wire is which pin. They're all labeled by numbers. That's how all of these single pole double throw relays are. They all have the same numbers in the same spots. So we have 2 relays right here, and we have 2 sockets right here. When we're ready, the relay will go in there. We'll mount this relay somewhere where it's not going to be in the way. Right here we have 1/8 inch shrink tubing, and this is the shrink tubing with the glue inside. So it'll be completely waterproof if you use the heat shrink with the glue inside. I'm not sure, I don't remember what it's called, but you search heat shrink with glue, you'll get the heat shrink with the glue inside. And lastly, these are for the H1s. We're not going to be putting these in today, but these are the amber extreme yellow amber, whatever you want to call them, by Hella. Hella makes good bulbs. I used to run these on my 4Runner back in the day, and they should look really good, but fortunately you won't get to see those today because we're working on the high beams and low beams. And lastly, you're going to need some rosin core solder. Make sure you get rosin core. This is just the old roll I've had forever. It'll probably last me forever because of how big it is. So I bought these off Amazon in the meantime until my new soldering iron gets here. And these are the kind you can just heat up. You put the wires in and you just heat them up. I was able to use a lighter, and the lighter was hot enough to melt the solder inside here, and it gives you a connection, a soldered connection, and it heat shrinks it at the same time. So super convenient. This whole little kit was 10 bucks. If I were to do it again, to be honest, I'd probably only buy the red ones. I think it's like 18 to 22 gauge. That's all you're gonna need for like most of the wiring you're gonna do. So I thought I would do a quick demonstration on how these soldered heat shrinks work so that you can get an idea what to expect. So we got both wires spliced. We're gonna leave them straight. We're not gonna twist them. We're not gonna do anything with them. That way, once we slide them into here, they'll be able to mesh together. So they're pretty well together like that. And I'm gonna use a lighter. If you have a heat gun, the heat gun's obviously the best way to go because the lighter is gonna blacken it. And you do have to get these pretty hot for the solder to melt all the way. I did notice that, like at one point I actually started to burn one of the sleeves because it was getting too hot and the solder wasn't melting all the way. With the lighter, it takes a minute for it to heat up. And you can see the solder's melting together there. And that's probably good to go there. We'll go ahead and seal up the ends. And that's it. So you do need to make sure you let the solder cool before you yank on it and try to test it or whatever. But that's going to be your joint right there. So if you don't have a soldering iron, you don't know how to solder, this is a pretty good option for you. Okay, so for your wiring, on your H4 socket, you're going to have a black, a yellow, and a red wire. On your relay, you have a blue, a white, a yellow, a black, and a red wire. Over here, for the main low beam, you have a black wire and you have a red and yellow wire. And for the main high beam, you have a red and blue wire and you have a red and yellow wire. On the passenger side, instead of your red and yellow wire, you're gonna have a green and red wire. And that's on both the high beam and the low beam. You have your green and red, and you have a red and blue. So make sure you remember that when you're doing the passenger side, it's the exact same wiring except the red and green replaces the red and yellow. So on your diagram you have 5 pins. We're going to go over each one and where each one needs to go. Your diagram is labeled. So we're going to start with pin 85. Is going to be your white wire. Your white wire is going to go to your red and blue wire from your original high beam light. Your black wire, pin 86, is going to go to your red and yellow wire on your high beam. So you got black and white, both go to the original high beam. Next we'll go to the low beam wires. You have the blue wire off your relay, pin 30, is going to go to the red and yellow on your low beam. Next you have your black wire that goes to your low beam. is going to go straight to the ground on your H4 bulb. So that black wire goes straight to ground on your H4. Next we have the red wire from your relay, which is pin 87, is going to go straight to the red wire on the bulb, which is your high beam. Red wire is your high beam, and next you have the yellow wire on your relay. Pin 87 is going to go straight to the low beam on your H4 bulb, which is also the yellow wire. And that's all the wiring that you're going to have to do to wire up the H4 bulb. If you want the H1 bulb to work, you're going to have to wire it completely separate because it's not a part of the high and low beam lights. So with that, when you turn on your low beams, you got your low beams, you flick at the high beam, you got your high beams. And they're both on that single H4 bulb the way it should be. Now I know there's a lot of people that wire your high beam to the H1, but that's not right. They wouldn't put an H4 bulb in here if they didn't want you to use high beam and low beam on that H4 bulb. The H1 is not your high beam. These parts are super cheap. Do it the right way. Don't wire the H1 to your high beam. Hopefully this video helps somebody out. If not, I was doing the wiring anyways, so I'm not wasting my own time. So if you got any questions, concerns, or whatever, let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Please like it and subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so please like and subscribe. Thank you.